My husband's childhood best friend used to hate me, and now is a groomswoman at our wedding, but her dyed hair is messing with our pictures, and now she hates me again for forcing her to wear a wig. My boyfriend, now fiancé, asked me to marry him 2 months ago. To give a little background, I met him at a farmer's market when I was 18 and he was 26, we are now 24F and 32M. We've been together for a little bit over 5 years, and I'm very happy with him. Now, to the story, my fiancé's friend, Brittany, has been friends with him since they were in elementary school. Throughout our early dating days, I expressed I was not a fan of this woman. There are many reasons as to why, such as us not having common interests and absolutely polar opposite moral codes, but the main one was her interest in embarrassing me and my fiancé, possibly because she likes him. When we were first starting to go on dates, she had shown up and tried to invite herself to the date because he had told their mutual friend group chat where he was taking me. She then decided that she would go to the same restaurant, and had tried to make a scene about him cheating on her and that she was heartbroken. It escalated very quickly and it ended with me asking the manager to get her trespassed, as she was delusional and I, nor my date, did not want her around. This sort of situation happened 3 more times, even going as far as showing up at his grandparents' house to stop me from meeting his family. At that point, I made it clear to him that if anything like that were to happen again, I'd be out of there. Which he completely understood and agreed with me, wholeheartedly. He convinced his friend group to go low communication about Brittany with him because she was acting weird around him and they all understood and disagreed with her actions. He had extremely low contact after that point, and I learned years later that she had gotten major therapy, even checked herself into a mental hospital, and went on medication to stop these absolutely unhinged personality traits. Around 4 years later, they reconnected through a mutual friend's birthday party we were all at, and she genuinely seemed like she had changed personality-wise from the person I had met 5-ish years ago. We still didn't agree on most things, but she apologized for the way she had acted previously and owned up to all the BS she tried to pull with him. So, I just kept my guard up, but encouraged my fiancé to make friends with her again. I'm not friends with her, but I am friendly towards her. Skipping to now, I have been planning this wedding basically since I was born, over-exaggerating, but it has been in my thoughts since I was a young child. The wedding will not happen for another 2 years. The theme is supposed to be similar to D&D-style fantasy. A Renaissance wedding with blue, orange, and red is the basic color scheme. Most of the wedding would be held outside at a local state park, but part of it would be held inside. Specifically, the cake and food would be cut and served inside, as well as some of the guest photos. This is the important part. I have a personal friend, Bree, 28F, who does professional pictures at Renaissance festivals across the U.S. Her job is to drive around across the country to rent fairs and take pictures for certain venues. It's a very cool job, and I love seeing the pictures. However, she does editing for some of these venues with a green screen to make it look more aesthetic or to totally change the scenery behind the people in the photo. For example, she showed me mock-ups from the past, showing silly people in costumes being chased by goblins and trolls, a dragon breathing fire behind a party of knights, and even a garden of lights with fairies flying through it, etc. It's silly stuff, and is for people to have fun with. My idea was to incorporate this into my wedding. The guests would choose whatever background they'd like from a catalog that my friend and I put together, and Bree or her teammate would take pictures of them throughout the day. These pictures would be uploaded electronically and then be edited by her after the wedding. These were mandatory for all guests that wanted to participate, so I could use the pictures for postcards and scrapbooking. It's my hobby. The people who wanted to take part in this activity would have to check a box on the save the date form I sent out. My assumption is that most guests would be doing this, as most of the people that will be invited are extremely rambunctious and love activities involving being silly. I do want to make it clear, these would not be the only pictures taken at the wedding. There still would be normal pictures being taken of the wedding itself, as well as photos that will likely be framed and used as decorations that would have no green screen of my husband and I and the wedding party. A few days after he had proposed, my fiancé asked me if I'd feel comfortable with him inviting Brittany to the wedding as a groomswoman. Honestly, I was fine with it. Until the topic of her hair came up. In the year or so that he had reconnected, she cut and dyed her hair a lime green with a cool undertone and highlights. I honestly really like it and it suits her facial structure extremely well. However, I was worried about the green screen and her hair, so I invited her to my friend's home a while later so we could see if the screen would blend with her hair. Unfortunately, it did. In the pictures, you could see a major glitch with every background we tried because of her hair. I asked my friend if there was a way to edit around it, and she said there was, but it would be an extra amount of money because it would be way more time to go through and possibly edit multiple photos of her with groups of people and herself so the picture wouldn't glitch. I'm very against this, as our budget has to be semi-perfect. We are accounting for accidents and issues, but not extra money to my friend's business because of one woman's choice of dye blending very well with the green screen. While I do love her hair, I asked if she'd wear a wig to the wedding so she could still be included in the green screen pictures, even offered to get it professionally done and I'd pay for that. This is when she became very angry with me. To sum up what she had said, her being asked to wear a wig was basically me saying I wanted to cover herself. That her hair was an expression of herself and that she loved it. I told her that I loved it as well, but in order for her to be included, she would need to wear a wig, as the green in her hair cannot just be covered up via a hat or other headwear. She has been saying that I just don't want to include her in the wedding. As a compromise against the wig, I propose that she gets more pictures of her having fun taken at the wedding itself, instead of the green screen. She didn't like this idea because she claims it isn't fair all the other guests get to be put in a fun picture and she's the only one not allowed. Though I sort of agree with her, it isn't to the fault of my own. So, I offered that she pay for the extra editing costs it would be to take and edit more of her pictures. At first, she was fine with the idea. Until I mentioned that the extra editing would cost around $100 for just a singular picture to be taken and edited by my friend, and the final price depended on how many photos she ended up in on the green screen. Then, she declined the offer and tried to throw it in my face that Bree's prices were outrageous. I disagreed with her sentiment about the prices, and I haven't spoken to her since then. Throughout this whole ordeal, my fiancé has been on my side, but he has been upset over her possibly not being there. While he does agree with me about not wanting to pay more for just her, as well as that she's being overdramatic, he has sympathy for her being the only person being left out of this choice activity. While I also have sympathy, I just don't see an alternative here. We can't use a blue screen over a green screen because the colors of the wedding are blue, red, and orange. And, I don't wish to pay for a new screen for my friend's business just because of one person. And the alternatives I have come up with, she has shot down. So, my final decision was to ask him to disinvite her from the wedding to not create further drama, if she does not want to wear a wig. After long talks between us, he agreed with me and sent her a message that she would be disinvited entirely and would be welcome to celebrate with just us, after our honeymoon had ended. They met up soon afterwards and he stayed firm on the matter, despite her crying and still refusing to do anything to correct her hair. She still believes that me asking her to do this is because of some power imbalance and that I just want to bully her, which I don't think I'm doing. She has a year to think it over. I can tell this situation bothers him though, and I've addressed it a few times. All of the times I have, he says it is for the best, as she would just ruin the photos she was in with the green screen and could cost us to delete hundreds of pictures, purely based on her actions. I agree, but it still bothers me that I'm doing something wrong. Especially since after this incident, her mom and dad have reached out to me to scold me for abusing my power against their daughter on one of the biggest parties she's ever been invited to. Even my friends are split on the issue, all of them having sympathy for her but some of them saying I'm an because I won't just let her come to the wedding and have someone to block her from taking any pictures with the green screen. And, just to make sure the record is straight, I am not trying to force her to change her hair in any way. I do not want her to dye it differently, nor would I expect her to. I purely just want a non-green wig to be put on her head for the wedding and then she can remove it afterwards. I would normally say that she could remove it after the green screen portion, but I'm still working out if I'm just going to let it stay up for the entire day of the wedding, or if I'm going to hold other activities for everyone and have Bree close the photo stuff down. Again, wedding isn't for another 2 years, so I'm able to think it over for at least a year. I dunno, am I the jerk? Update, 7 days later. I honestly didn't think I'd post an update at all this year because I mostly got the confirmation I needed to know I was mostly correct in my assumption that she'd cause more drama at the wedding than necessary, and that I'd be correct in that I would be okay to disinvite her. I was trying to be detailed in that post, but in this one I'm going to be a little less detailed. Basically, 3 days ago, I was sent my post on Messenger from Brittany. She is a notorious Reddit lurker, apparently, and saw it a few hours after it was posted. It didn't even have to get multiple upvotes because she just reads the ones available on the recent category. I told her I posted because I had a lot of inner conflict towards my involvement with my fiancé choosing to disinvite her if she can't just make some form of sacrifice to not be in the green screen / wear a wig so she can be included. She got extremely mad at me. Called me names, threatened that I'd be sued for defamation, etc. This honestly just made me realize how little she actually changed. Of course, I showed my fiancé and he was appalled at her actions. He said he was going to block her and did so that day, and so did I. Yesterday, I woke up to 43 missed calls from a number I did not recognize, that ended up to be her and a dozen voicemails claiming that I was stealing my fiancé away from her again, that I had purposefully targeted her for just wanting to be included with everyone else, and so on. I do not know how she got my number, but I obviously blocked it. After that, I reported her to the police on the non-emergency line because I didn't know if I would be needing to fear for my safety. I'm really glad I did this. After my fiancé had left for work, she showed up to our home and knocked on the door. I cracked a window near the door and asked what she wanted. She said, whilst crying, that I needed to let her in the house because it was her right to be with my fiancé, not me. She started kicking at the door and I told her to knock it off. Immediately, I just started dialing the non-emergency police number for my nearest precinct because I already knew what was happening in that moment, and I was supposed to be clocking in for work on my computer at that moment. I texted my boss and she excused my absence for the day as well. As I was doing this, I kept repeating, "Go away, I called the police, and I do not want you here. You are trespassing." She was saying all kinds of things I don't wish to repeat here, but the lesser of the things she was saying involved calling me a white racist pig, she is mixed race and so am I. Saying she was 8 months pregnant with my fiancé's baby, there's quite literally zero proof of this, including no baby bump, despite being a fairly thin woman. Screaming that she would take me to hell. Trying to break my metal outside door, but instead hurting herself instead. And so on. Basically, she had a full-on meltdown. The police came, saw that was trying to break my door down, and immediately put her in cuffs and sat her down. She was claiming this was her house and that she'd lived there for 10 years, that I had broken in and locked her out, etc. Of course, because of her psychotic appearance, I was questioned and once given the real story. As well as being able to provide proof that I was the owner of the home, she was taken to the police station. As far as I'm aware, she was booked for the night and was let go today. I did agree to a temporary no-contact order and my fiancé and I are going to proceed with a permanent one. Her parents called after they heard she was put in a holding cell, and apologized profusely. Apparently, Brittany had lied to them about the extent of her actions and downplayed a lot of it. On the exterior, she seemed fine and well-rounded. But, mentally, she had snapped again from not taking her meds for a year. She never told her parents this, just acted normally until one of her triggers came back, my fiancé. No, he didn't do anything wrong, she just had a major trigger when it came to him because of a deeply obsessive personality disorder. I wasn't trying to air her dirty laundry about her medical history the last post, but she was diagnosed with BPD and a large handful of disorders caused by trauma she had endured in her childhood from her great-grandfather. She's an unhealthy person, and I regret even allowing her to have the notion that we had forgiven her for her past. I'm pretty shaken from this ordeal. And I can't believe this was all because of a goddamn green screen and some pictures that were supposed to just be treated as silly holiday cards for my foreseeable future. This is making me rethink the idea altogether, to be completely honest. Maybe I'll just rent an adult bouncy house because that seems more fun than green screen professional photography. Anyways, that's the update. Thanks for reading and the advice I was given in the last post.